Welcome everyone. I am sitting here with JeffScult. I've had the pleasure to sit with him before and just love interviewing you. I gained so much knowledge and I'm hoping that we can spread that to our viewers today as well. And we just did a mini interview. We were on my phone and you talked about the relationship we have with money. And which got me thinking about our conversation that we were having yesterday. We were like, let's just talk about relationships.
Yeah.
And so I have so many things I want to say. I don't even know where to start because, like you said, it is like a loaded topic, and there's so much to say about relationships. And I think that sometimes we don't realize we've normalized the relationship that we have with things. We've normalized the relationship we have with money, and we realize that we think that money is scarce, but that's the relationship we have with money. Or we normalize the relationship we have with romantic partnerships, and it just doesn't work out for me. There's a story behind there, and it's just it becomes so normalized that I don't think that many of us realize that that's not the most aligned way of being. So how do we bring awareness into this topic and realize there is a different way?
The first thing that comes to mind is how do we choose what we choose? And I think about partnership, whether that's romantic, but think about it in the construct of business, because for whatever reason we spend a lot of time with choosing our romantic partners perhaps. But in business partnerships, it's a marriage in and of itself. And I will share with you something deeply personal, because this happened to me twice in my life, and it took a pound of flesh from my soul both times. And I would fall prey to becoming intoxicated by some of these complementary skill sets. Like, I do this, they do this, oh my God, they do this, and they're good at it. And I lean into it, and I rush into it. Mm-hmm. And what I've determined is that if you rush into that first, you will be blinded, or if you're anything like me, you may be blinded by the things that wrap that are critical for a nurturing, healthful relationship that is abundance versus scarcity making. And what I mean by that, and it goes like this: before we become intoxicated by complementary skill sets, first and foremost, define and align around complementary life sets. Okay. So what are life sets? Life sets are values. Are we values vibrationally aligned? What's your relationship like with money? What's your relationship like with treating humans? I mean, go out to dinner with somebody at a restaurant, see how they treat the wait staff. Ask questions about ask questions about what is their relationship to money. What is their relationship to money when they have it? What is their relationship with money when they don't? Put yourself in situations where you can understand the values that somebody has, because I will share something else with you. It's easy in the struggle. If I went to business with you and I knew nothing about your values, but I knew that you were a good complementary skill set, and there was no money, there was no ego, because we're literally fighting, and we feel like we're lifting something from the ashes to be born into the world. Skill sets can work, but when you start to roll forward and there's abundance being created, that's sometimes where the life sets will show themselves, sometimes in a very ugly way. So before you get there, take this one bit of advice. Get to know those life sets before become intoxicated by somebody's complementary skill sets. Yeah.
And so what should we look for? How does the alignment with life sets, like what are the telltale signs that this is someone that we should partner with?
Well, so first it begins within, like of you understanding what your values are. What are your core values that are impeachable, or unimpeachable for you and are impeachable if somebody else is not ascribing to that? That's a beautiful place to start. And so it would be, let's say, if one of your values was around transparency. Transparency means that there's no lies by omission. Well, you didn't ask that question, so why would I need to tell you that part of that? Yeah. As opposed to like, a true art of partnership and negotiation is almost like putting yourself in the other's shoes as opposed to your shoes. And so another value of yours might be integrity of word. Mm-hmm. Integrity of word is do they actually do what they said that they were going to do? Your values might be around how you treat humans, or your values might be why are we doing this? I mean, anytime you have a conscious business, you want to for somebody's going to enroll, we want to align around a shared set of values.
That is so good, so good. So what happens if you already are in a partnership that, maybe you built a business together and you already, or maybe you built a marriage together, any relationship, but you've already built something and then later on you come across this information, you realize, oh, my values aren't aligned, and where do I go from here?
That's a beautiful question, because I think that in my past self, I would have almost come from a victim mentality. Somehow I was being victimized, and I may have even come at the person with some blame and shame because I was experiencing some pain. And instead, what if we could just have a clearing conversation? What if we could have a clearing conversation and say, look, I want to just share with you, we are all evolving as humans, and I'm evolving, and this is where I am. I am not that. I am this. This is me now. And for me, the integrity of X, Y, and Z is a value, and I'd love to share that with you, because that's where I am, and I'd love to hear from you. What are your values? What's important to you? Because I'd like to meet on a bridge as partnership, and we could build a new bridge together. And so it's not about the old bridge, the old story that probably is saddled with some skimmed up knees and some, and some stories and that we've attached meaning to. So I would say start with a clearing conversation and offer something vulnerable from yourself. Offer something vulnerable where you are saying, where you're sharing it in such a way that you're actually detaching from their response, and you're surrendering to the outcome. One of the great lessons that I've learned in my life is we can truly have those challenging conversations by remembering these 4 principles. It's important, it's my truth, it's timely to share it, and I'm going to share it with loving kindness. And if I do those things and then I detach from your response and surrender to the outcome, then I'm just sharing, and I'm inviting you to share as well. And if we do that, it doesn't need to be this conflict. It can be meeting on the C2, which is this, we talked about it before, is the benevolent bridge. We can meet on a bridge of a new version of understanding. And I really believe in the beauty of clearing conversations. It's where we are. If we want to call ourselves, operating within any level of consciousness, part of that deliciousness is also the way that we communicate with each other. But first it starts with how we communicate with ourselves.
Absolutely. And is there ever a time where you just have to just let go?
So not everybody's intended to go on the ride. And if you have evolved and somebody's no longer aligned to you, if I had a tattoo right here, it would say, I don't have tattoos, but if I did, it would say, protect the realm, revere the realm, and wield the shield. So protect the realm is like, you know what your values are. Reveal the realm is like, I'm going to honor those values. And wield the shield is like, I'm going to make decisive, precise actions in integrity of that realm. And so the answer to your question is abso-fucking-lutely. If it's time, sometimes it's just time to say goodbye. And by the way, we can say it in such a way that it doesn't need to feel like this heavy. It can literally just be like, I thank you, and I wish to complete our time together. One of the first things that the universe downloaded to me as a drop of gold was this notion of to release our expectation around duration. Think about that. Like we're so courted that everything must last for a life, and maybe it's just for this moment. Maybe it's for just that moment. And so releasing the expectation around duration is just like, I feel complete in this relationship, and it's time to transcend it or transition it to something else. We can move from business partners to mentors or to acquaintances or to friends. We can pivot from romantic relationships if it's no longer aligned. It doesn't need to end in some sort of a slow speed car crash, which I've done that, I've seen that. It could be, there are people that write books and missives about this around conscious uncoupling. But I think that going full circle, if there's this notion around conscious uncoupling, we first need to start with conscious coupling. So conscious coupling is understanding life sets before skill sets.
Yeah, and that's the tricky part, I feel, in the beginning, just because you see something, you're so excited by it, and sometimes our mind wants to see what it wants to see. Like, this is it, this is the answer, this is the business partner, this is the soulmate, and that can almost be a little confusing, a little foggy to really see that straight on.
Jeff just did a beautiful session on human design, and I think that one of the things is understanding your authority. For instance, my authority is an emotional one, and so I know that if I have any decisions to make, I sleep on it, and allow myself to feel into it, not as opposed to just somebody who's just trusting their gut and just boom, 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 boom. It's just big decisions. Just give it a little pause and space. And look, it's not about perfection. There's all kinds of moments in our lives that we're going to make a decision, and it maybe is not going to be the full path forward. But like a dear friend of mine said, Andrew Kippen, he said, either way is better. Either way is better. Because maybes aren't the babies that we want, because those just gather atrophy. Like maybe, it's just like maybe. What does maybe mean? But yes or no, getting to that when you're ready, after you tap into your authority, and then realizing that if something's misaligned, the circles move from here to here, and let's set a new container. And if not, then give ourselves permission to pivot and move to a new chapter.
It's a new chapter, yeah. Then there was a learning lesson, and now you take that with you to the next chapter, and it's called growth.
If we choose.
If we choose.
If we choose. As we choose, yeah.
Great, thank you so much, Jeff. Is there anything else that you want to leave the viewers with today?
I would just say, in this community, and if anybody's watching this, you are on your path, you're on your journey, and this notion of, am I giving, am I receiving, it's a false front, either one of them. And I'll share a story that my father shared with me after my mother passed away from a 7-year Alzheimer's journey 2 days before COVID got real in March 2020. And my mother, for the last 2 months, she couldn't even purse her lips to give him a kiss back. But she was in this beautiful state of bliss. She was in beautiful peace, we felt. And I asked my father, I said, you just gave and gave and gave to Mom for those last years. What was it like for you? And he said, well, first of all, I got something out of it as well, so make no mistake. I got the pleasure of seeing her spark and light up. But then he said something that I will never forget, and I would gift this to you by Mort Scult from my father to you. He said that when we are sharing when we are coming from pure intent, there is no giving, there is no receiving, it's just sharing love. So there's no scorecard, there's no, am I giving, am I receiving? Therefore, we can actually obliterate the block that we sometimes place as people who are in service to the world of allowing ourselves to receive. Because when we allow ourselves to receive with ease, we can actually give boundlessly. So I love my father's take that we can obliterate am I receiving, am I giving? It's just sharing love, whether you're receiving or you're giving. And that, to me, feels like living life golden.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you so much for the hug. Appreciate your presence, your wisdom here at AUREA Leaders event and just in the world in general. This has been beautiful, and I hope you guys took something from it as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.